I'm a patient, methodical value investor. I just keep buying quality companies. And I've been doing that 42 years. So my wealth grows without having to do anything. I have a passive income without having to work.
Dr. John Demartini is a world-renowned expert in human behavior. He's the founder of the Demartini Method, a revolutionary tool in modern psychology. His education curriculum ranges from corporate empowerment program, financial empowerment strategies, and personal growth seminars. It seems surreal to have you here and do an interview with you. Thank you so much for the work you are doing, for exemplifying also that work, and for changing people's lives. I am the living proof of that.
Thank
And
you.
I thought for this interview, reinventing yourself in order to create and grow wealth, maybe even
Good.
generational wealth.
I just finished writing another book last night. I just sent it to the publisher last night called The 9 Steps to Financial Freedom.
Wow. This is perfect.
Good timing.
Yes.
Got another one launching in a couple of weeks. The Essentials of Emotional Intelligence comes out. So I've done 9 books in the last 15 months. So I've been doing quite a few books lately.
Amazing. Are they for the public or for your course?
Five of them will be published by June. And then some of them are textbooks that are for advanced students. They're not general market books.
Yes, I'm looking forward. That would be amazing. I have one of your books here also, how to
make one hell of a profit and still get to heaven.
And still go to heaven. Yes. Think about reinvention, because with the value of the mother, I guess it would be difficult to create wealth or to start that process, right? So
well, it can be. I was working in Japan yesterday. I finished a seminar in the United States, and a few hours later I started one in Japan. And in Japan there was a lady who was transitioning. Her kids were growing up and she was trying to transition to building a business. And she was having difficulty making that transition. So we gave her steps and look at her obstacles and how to break it down into smaller bites. She was trying to get there quick instead of just being methodical.
Day trading, I know your philosophy around that, like it's a game where someone has to lose and another one has to win, but we can go with something where everybody is winning, like giving value and having financial reward in return. Still, I want to have your perspective again, how day trader can manage their emotions, because in my circle and in our community, there are also people who want to go that route of day trading. Even me, a few years ago, I started that route and it was too stressful for me.
Yeah, it's a bit volatile and you have to be a psychic almost.
Yes.
To guess what the market's going to do. I just keep buying every week. I keep buying investments, and I became financially independent because I just was methodical and patient and just kept buying investments, buying companies. I don't try to time the market. I just have time in the market, keep it there.
So you wouldn't recommend day trade?
Well, it's not different people have different personalities, and some people really love that. And if they really love that and they want to do that, then there's money to be made in it. You can certainly make money on it, but some people have a primary job that they are wanting to do, and that can be distracting to their primary job, primary career. If they don't have enough money to day trade to make enough to pay all the bills, then that can be very volatile and distracting to the primary job. And I tell people to don't undermine the primary career income for trading until the trading content and the amount that you're trading allows you to compensate for that amount. The money from actively trading is making you the same money. Otherwise, you'll distract yourself from a primary income, and your primary income can go down. So, but some people really love it. My daughter's husband is a trader, and he does savings and investments, which are more conservative. And then he also likes to day trade, and he makes some extra money on that. And I tell him to take a portion of whatever he makes and stick it also into conservative investments. So he's not just always volatile, always wondering, because he can go up and go down and can go all over the place. Yes. And sometimes he has to deal with the emotions. And when you're day trading, you have to calm your emotions. If you can't govern your emotions, you'll go all over the place. So you have to have a strategy and stick to a strategy and keep your emotions out of the way.
Will you say that the Demartini method can also help with the managing of the emotions, the calming of the emotions?
Yes, we have, there are many traders who use what I call side C of the Demartini method, which is on perceptions of gain and loss. And the method is a series of questions you ask and hold yourself accountable to answer. So you're conscious of what you were unconscious of. And it allows you to calm down the emotions, because let's say you have a gain in a trade and you make quite a bit of money. It's if you make a significant amount, a portion of your portfolio, it's a significant amount, it's easy to get elated and extroverted. And when it's out and elated, you have forces that can bring you back down to humble you.
Yes.
We're not here to get elated or depressed or proud or shamed on the gains and losses. We're here to utilize our strategies to stabilize our mind and our emotions, to stick to the methodical trading strategies that we know work. And so, yeah, I use the Demartini method. In a lot of trading companies, I use it. At the end of the day, if they had a big day, they calm themselves down so they're grateful to trade and not elated and proud and thinking they did something amazing. It calms it down, because if they go in and get cocky, they usually have humbling circumstances to humble them, and then they beat themselves up. So I show them how to take, when they have a gain or a loss, how to neutralize it, stabilize themselves, and center themselves, and stick to the strategy. So if you don't govern yourself from within, you end up having to be governed from without. And so people who are doing day trading, who are masters at it, learn to govern their emotions. They're very objective people. You can't have a highly volatile emotional person doing day trading without having a suicide attempt. There's a famous trader named Jesse Livermore. He was 3 times one of the wealthiest people in the world. And then he also went bankrupt and committed suicide at the end. So here was the wealthiest man and then the poorest man in debt. He died in debt. And so I'm a patient, methodical value investor. I just keep buying quality companies, and I've been doing that 42 years. And it makes me a lot of passive income, more than I actively make. And I just kept buying. I'm a net buyer. I just keep buying quality companies. So I don't have to deal with those emotions. I have it automated. It's electronically done. There's no emotion about it. It's quality companies. There's indices that are involved, and it's just automated. So I just focus on caring about teaching, researching, writing, and traveling the world, and do what I love doing, and let the rest of it automatic, completely done automated. It's done without me even having to think about it. I don't have to do anything. So my wealth grows without having to do anything. And so that way I have a passive income without having to work.
So have you delegated that to someone who is specialist in choosing those companies where
No,
you invest?
I just buy passive index funds, and they're automated and it's electronic. And I use Schwab, which is an investment company in America, and they just it's automated. My bank account gets money from me working. It goes from there into a money market account. From there, it's stair-stepped into an investment account. It's accelerated. So every quarter it increases, and it just keeps compounding and keeps growing and keeps buying. There's no capital gains tax because I'm not selling anything. So I've just allowed it to grow, and the dividends are reinvested. So it just keeps growing. I have some stocks I've held for 42 years, and they've, made a lot of money. So I don't have to emotionalize it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to stress over it. I don't have the volatilities, and I don't get distracted from what I love doing, which is teaching, researching, and writing, and traveling the world.
Yeah. So now let's talk about how a woman who is a mom can start that process of creating a wealth.
Well, she has the capacity to do 2 things: either work under some job that's already out there based on her skill, or create an income from generating her own company. So she could be an entrepreneur or some sort of entrepreneur working inside a company. It depends on her skills. It depends on her, you might say, her character. If she's more of a go-getter and more of a type A, entrepreneur type, she may want to just start her own company and find a real need, a problem in society that she wants to solve, and bring a product or a service or ideas to. In our case, we're bringing information to people, and we're serving people by providing information. But there's other products that need to be done, and services or ideas, content, intellectual property that can be sold in the marketplace that fills a need and solves a problem. So if we really care about human beings, we're going to find out what is the most common needs and problems out there and target the one that we're inspired to fulfill. And so a woman who's single or married, having kids, or her job, if she's going to start her own business, is to find a real need, not make assumptions, not make projections of what she thinks she needs onto the world, but find out what people are willing to really want. If there's no demand for your supply, you haven't met a need. There has to be a demand. So if you don't have a demand and you're trying to tell people what they need instead of finding out what they need, and that makes it challenging. It's not that you can't do it, it just takes it more challenge to get a business going. But if you find a real demand, a real need out there, and you can more effectively and efficiently fill that need compared to somebody else, there's a market. And so if you're working for somebody else, you have to fill their needs. If you're working for yourself, you have to fill the customer's directly. So the question is which one of those? I would make a decision. Do you want to work for somebody else and you have a skill? And the first decision is, do you want to work for somebody else or do you want to work for yourself
For
first?
yourself, yes.
The second one is, what is your skill? And do you have a skill that can fill those needs as an entrepreneur, or those skills working for somebody else? And then you want to make sure you're doing something that you're inspired by, because if you're not inspired by it, you're not going to excel at it. You know, if you're not really loving doing it, you're just taking on a job and you can't stand it. I had a lady that I worked with recently that was a dentist, and she hated dentistry, but so she was in transition to now find a new path. And she wants to go in the personal development coaching path. That's where she wants to go. And there's plenty of opportunity there if you can provide true value. And so you have to organize your knowledge. If you're going to do an intellectual property type of product and service, you need to organize your knowledge and package it in a way that's meaningful, that people understand. You know, I write books, for instance, and package the book into something that people will buy. I package audio cassette and CDs and DVDs and online programs that people will buy. If I do it and it meets their need, there's an income. If I don't, they'll give me feedback. Your customer's constantly giving you feedback of what's working and what's not working. So if you don't meet their needs, there's no purchase. If there is meeting their needs, they buy. Your job is to keep refining what you're doing until there's a demand, and you're meeting the demand, and now you've got a business, and then there's an income source. And then whenever you get the income source, working for others or yourself, a portion of that, in my opinion, needs to be reinvested in the company. A portion needs to be reinvested into cash reserves, and part of it needs to be reinvested into some sort of stocks or real estate, something that's an asset that appreciates in value. That way you stabilize the company and you draw more and magnetize more business to the company. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, really. I mean, you could have a man raising kids and they're in the same boat, but it's more common for a woman to be in the paradox of trying to raise a family and children and trying to build a business. It's not easy for a lot of women to juggle that, because they're having to take care of raising kids is a full-time job.
That's true. That's true. And it's also part of my challenge. But by delegating or by having the help of a partner is doable. And
Yes.
how will you go about finding that need in the market? Will you say that you observe what other people are doing, or do you come from your inspiration or from the question that you get most often? What will be your process?
All of the above. I look at magazine articles, because magazines are pulsing what the market is, and they're putting articles out to try to meet that market. And so successful magazines will have article topics. Then I'll look at those article topics in my genre, and that will give me an idea what's people are looking for. If I see a series of magazines that are offering certain, articles on a certain topic, I know I can produce something on that topic, and there'll be a value there. I also take what inspires me and what I think from my feedback, the questions I get from clients, and from what I'm observing in questions online, they give me an idea what's the common questions that people are asking, and then I fill that need.
Yes.
So there's many sources of where that is, and sometimes when I'm doing consulting, what people think they need and what they actually need are different. So sometimes I'll do things that they actually need. I may not sell as many of them initially, but once they go and listen to it, then they start dispersing it to other people and spreading it to other people. So it's an ongoing. Sometimes it's inspirational for me that I have a sense that it'll be valuable. Some it's my own experience. Sometimes it's watching what other people are doing. It's a little of all that. And most of that is delegated. I have people that take care of that, but I also have things that I want to share.
Yeah.
I'm writing an article for Jet Set magazine right now, and it's on sustainable fair exchange and the mastery of life. And I know that market, because that's a different market. That's 250,000 private jet owners. So that market has got a different market than the general market in the newspaper, for instance, which is mass market. So I try to think about the market that I'm about to place the article in and meet those needs. And I've been blessed to meet people from, mass market all the way to very elite groups. And in talking with them, and I got a sense for some of it, but I also look at what the magazine articles are doing. What's the topic right now? Because, there are topical things that are going on in the media that right now are important, but 6 months from now won't be. So sometimes I'll address that and I'll put an article out real quick and capitalize on that short-term market.
All right. And on the journey to creating a product, how will you go about pricing that product? Will you think about a value? Okay, for someone who is new in entrepreneurship, will you think about your goal, your personal goal of finances, and then try to create something that has that value that you want to offer? Or will you go like looking at what the competition is doing and then pricing your product around that? Because it also has to do a lot with how we perceive our self-worth and what we allow ourselves to be rewarded by when we create something.
I look at all the above, because if I walk up to an entrepreneur, let's say I walked up to you and you said, I'm going to put out this new product.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start it at a low level. I'm going to say $5. And if you want the price to go up, put your thumb up. If you want the price to go down, do it. If you want the price to stop, just do like that. And I say $5, and I say $10, $20, $40, $80, $160, $150. So we have an intuitive amount that we feel we can look somebody straight in the eye with. That is the price that we feel comfortable offering.
Before we create that value, or after we create
that's where our image is. That's where we feel that we can sell it at. We automatically have that. That's what we think its value is.
Okay.
Now, if you sit down and write down 100 benefits to the potential customer of that product and of charging more, and 100 drawbacks to that customer for charging only that amount, if we do that exercise again, it'll go up, because your mindset now elevated and you think it's more valuable. And if you think it's more valuable, you can sell it for more value. So it's a mindset.
Yes.
But then you also have the marketplace. If it's way outside the marketplace, you need to make distinctions. You need to make a list of all the things that they're offering, and you need to make distinctions of why that's more than the general marketplace. So your job is in the marketing, is to make distinctions and uniquenesses. I call it features, advantages, benefits, services, unique utilities, and advantages. And you write those things and you stack those up and you provide that in your mind so you can sell it and be prepared to sell it to somebody. Because if they can't see the distinctions, they're going to go to the lowest price. And if you don't believe that's valuable, you'll sell it at whatever your self-image is. So you raise the image by writing the benefits and features to these people. You look at what the market is, and you look at what they're advertising in the market, and then you make distinctions and list a bunch of distinctions of why it's different. Because if you can't make that distinction, they're going to want to pay the cheapest price.
Yes. Coming from our inspiration, what would you say, or what would you advise when the inspiration has stopped or is starting to go down? For example, I am in the process of creating an online course, but I feel stuck of not finalizing the project.
Well, you may have in my case, my love is researching, writing, teaching, and traveling. I don't like all the editing, but I do editing. I do final editing. I have an editor. I have a series of editors, actually. But There's some things I don't like the marketing. I don't like the graphics. I don't like all that stuff. I have people to do that.
Mm.
So sometimes when we're doing a project and we're building a product, there are components of that product development that we love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's parts that we don't love doing. And the parts we don't love doing, we'll procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate on. And then it stops and it doesn't get done unless we have somebody we can delegate those parts that love doing it. So I found that out in myself. And so I basically put people in place to do the parts of the development that I don't want to do. Because in all the steps of the development, my expertise is to research and write and teach. And then they record that, they transcribe that, they start editing that, and then they start producing the product from my audios and videos and things like that. So I have a team that does that. And then I can just keep producing that way. Because if I had to do all of those steps, I'd never get anything done because I'd be uninspired. So you may have some parts of the job in building product that you love, and then other parts that you need to delegate out and surround yourself with people who are experts on that. And then it just flows. Then it starts coming out. You can produce products nonstop then because you're doing what you love and they're doing what they love.
Yes. Okay. I would love to know from your space, what will be the criteria to have a high ticket product instead of a low ticket product, regardless of what our perceived self-worth is.
In order to have a very high ticket item, there
Mhm.
has to be a distinction of why that's out there. What's the purpose of it? If you're a celebrity and people there's a massive demand for you, a high ticket item is a supply demand dynamic. So if you're going to have a high ticket item compared to what's out there, you need to make sure that you have a distinction of demand that's there. You can't just artificially fantasize that you can put a high ticket item out there without having a demand for it. So if you can make a distinction and find out what's out there and what the prices are and what the distinctions are, you can possibly sell it. But you need to make sure there's a distinction, and you can't fake that. If you don't deliver that, it's going to work against you in the long run on the brand. So you need to make the distinctions and make sure they're real and integral distinctions. Otherwise, you sell it, you might sell it once, but you won't consistently sell it because the feedback from the market says it didn't live up to expectation. So you need to find something that's unique and distinct, that's really yours, that's true. That's why I say start with what you know and start with where your skill is and your core competence and where you're excellent at, because that gives you a competitive advantage. When it comes to values, I've been studying values 46 years out of the 51 years I've been teaching. And I probably have more background and knowledge on that field than probably anybody on the planet. So I can talk about that and I can do lots of things around that. And people will value that and they'll pay for that because it's unique and it's an area of expertise that not everybody has. It's not easy to get. So you need to find your core competence in the areas that you are absolutely inspired in, and you will stay more inspired when you're doing things high in your value. No one's inspired when they're doing low priority things. If I had to do everything that was in my business, I wouldn't be inspired. I wouldn't be inspired. If I had to do everything that needs to be done in my business, I have lots of people doing lots of different things. I couldn't do all that. So I delegate and surround myself with people that really love it. There's people that really love developing internet data. They love social media. They love this. I don't do that. I teach, research, write, and travel, period. I'm useless everywhere else. Those are my core competencies, the thing I love doing, and I can do that all day long.
I have a question from your book, How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Go to Heaven, the coiled spring. So when we are on this journey, I will read for a moment. The key to growing wealth and worth is emotional stability. Here is a simple analogy of the coil. Life is like an infinite spring coiling continuously round and round, always rising to higher levels. You walk the journey of your life along that springing coil, and as long as it holds steady, it's easy to keep going. But when you get elated, the spring bobs up, and when you get depressed, it bobs down. When it's bobbing up or down, it becomes unstable, and you have to stop and hold on. Attempting to make your way up to the road toward wealth is just like trying to work up a coil spring.
There will be times when you are bobbing up or riding high, and others when you are bobbing down or riding low. And then emotional high and lows make it difficult to follow your journey. They distract you from your chief aim and force you to stop. The path is actually your own mind, and you only get to work along it when you are stabilized. So does it mean that we are going up and down, or does it mean that we go up, then we stabilize, then we go up and we stabilize? What is it that you meant by that springing?
Well,
Spring.
just like in the general stock market, it oscillates, but it still goes up over time. If you take an Ibbotson chart and you measure, say, large cap stocks, and you look at it over a period of time, they average around 7%, 8% growth over time, long term.
Yes.
But it goes up, above, and it goes below, and it goes above the mean. It has a mean that's 7%, but it goes above and below the mean. When it goes above the mean, if you keep dollar cost averaging and buying, you make money on the past. When it goes below the mean, you make money on the future. But if you keep putting it in there, you keep making money and you'll get your mean. You can get a predictable mean. And so when you're stable and you're at the mean and you're not elated or depressed, you just keep walking. But the second you go elated, it's hard to walk. And the second you get depressed, it's hard to walk. So you kind of get stuck, because things that you infatuate with occupy space and time in your mind and distract you. Things that you resent occupy space and time in your mind and distract you. It's like trying to sleep at night. When you're highly resentful, it's hard to sleep. When you're highly elated, it's hard to sleep. But when you're stable and steady, you go right to sleep. When you sleep, you go through the night smoothly and you wake up refreshed. So if not, you have a really rough night, you don't sleep, and you feel like, oh my God, I need more rest. You didn't grow as far as rest. So the spiraling metaphor, if you will, is when you're going up and down, you hold on and you don't get to move. But when you're steady, you just keep climbing. So wealth continues to go up if you just patiently not allowing your emotions to interfere with it. That's why Warren Buffett says, until you can manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money.
That's amazing. About the imposter syndrome, being on the self-development industry, wanting to be a mentor. For example, I have this idea of reinventing yourself and creating a new you. When we talk about the values, it means that we are changing our values, right? To become a new person. For example, becoming someone who has wealth as a value will help you be wealthy. So on the journey, if I create a course called A New You, I expect from myself that I should be already displaying the results before I can sell that course, right?
Not necessarily. I'll share a story. I was speaking when I was in 1983, I was speaking to around 5,000 people in New York at the Marquis Hotel. And there was a lot of people there, and I was new at that particular convention, which I ended up speaking there for 37 years after that. And there was a gentleman who was speaking ahead of me. There were 6 of us about to speak 20-minute segments about the best ideas for clinical practice at the time. And he was seeing around 1,000 patients a week. He had a big practice and had a lot of staff, and he was doing amazing. And I didn't have that. I was maybe 400 a week, 350, 400 a week. So I thought, wow, by my comparison to him, he's way ahead of me. And I compared. And anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, you'll minimize yourself if you think they've done something that you're exaggerating.
Yes.
And so I pulled the guy aside and I had lunch with him, and I said, I feel like I haven't earned the right to present this. And he said to me, John, your presentation I listened to. Your presentation was absolutely inspiring. Your presentation was filled with information. Just because you haven't gone and done what I've done doesn't mean it's not valuable to people. And you're actually, the way you present it is so inspiring and so meaningful to the people that they will value that. So don't compare yourself to me, compare your own actions to your own values. Because if you compare yourself to somebody else, it's easy to put yourself up and down. I imagine 3 beakers of water, and one beaker of water is 40 degrees. Another beaker of water is 72 degrees. Another one is 140 degrees. So you have cold, tepid, and hot.
Okay.
If you put your hand into the cold water and measure it, just leave it there, you can probably guess that's about 40 degrees. And you have a thermometer there, objectively, it says 40 degrees. You take your hand out, let it go back to room temperature, put it in room temperature, and you'll say that's about room temperature. And your guess is pretty close to objective if it matches the thermometer. And if you put it out, take it out, and then put it into the hot, you'll guess, ooh, that's hot. That's probably about 140 degrees. So your guessing of what that temperature is pretty close to what the objective value is. But if you take your hand and you put it into something that's really cold and leave it in there, and then immediately take it out and stick it in the tepid, that's 72 degrees, you'll think that it's 90 degrees because you're comparing it now to something colder.
Okay.
And so you'll distort and you'll have a subjective biased interpretation of that temperature. And if you take it out and stick it in the hot water and leave it there and take it out and put it in there, you'll think it's 50 degrees. So the second we compare ourselves to others by the law of contrast, we'll distort our view of ourselves because we've distorted our view of them. And whenever we do that, we create the imposter syndrome. Because if we put people on a pedestal, we'll minimize ourselves. That's not who we are. That's an imposter. And if we put somebody down and exaggerate ourselves, that's an imposter. That's not who we are. But when we actually are seeing things objectively, we get to be ourselves. That's why it's not wise to compare yourself to others. It's wise to compare your own actions to your own highest values to see how congruent you are with what's meaningful to you.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So comparing ourselves to our values, and it also means to our daily actions, right? If they are aligned.
Yeah, if we align our daily actions to what's highest in priority, if you fill your day with high priority actions, your self-worth goes up. If you fill it with low priority distractions, your self-worth goes down. You're designed to have lower self-worth whenever you're doing lower priority things, because it's the universe giving you feedback, the world giving you feedback to let you know you're not authentic, because your authentic ontological identity revolves around your highest value. So the willingness to pursue and give yourself permission to live by the very highest values in life, that one thing that you're greatest at, is the key to excellence and the key to an inspired life. Mine is teaching. I found my thing. I stick to teaching and researching and writing. That's my highest values. And nobody has to motivate me to do it. I don't need to be reminded to do it. I love doing it. It inspires me. I can do it all day long. So as long as I'm filling my day with that and not anything else, I'm inspired throughout my day. And that's available for anybody that's willing to do it. It's just a matter of being willing to delegate lower priority things, which forces you to go and do something that serves, that generates an income to pay for the people you're going to delegate and to make sure they make you money too. If you delegate it to people who are love to do it and they produce products and services that help you produce even more, it doesn't cost to delegate. It's if you dedicate to your highest values and delegate lower priority actions and find people that love doing that, man, you've got an inspired life coming. And I've proven that over the last 40-something years, 42 years now.
Will you say that it's then the inspiration that keeps you healthy and energized to do what you have to do? Like you are a global educator and your schedule is probably
Yes, I think so. I'm 69, I'm going on 70, and I'm just as energetic.
Yes.
I'm still vital in energy. You know, our outside shell may not look the same, but our inside spirit is constant.
So the nutrition, the sleeping habits, they are under the inspiration. I mean, the inspiration is higher than nutrition and health, would you say, and sleep in order to keep us healthy?
Well, I don't want to negate rest. I don't want to negate quality food. I eat wisely. My sleep patterns are odd. I was in the United States until about midnight doing programs. And then I had a program in Japan at 6 a.m. And then I had now programs in different, I mean, I'm moving around in all over the world. So my time zones are crazy. That's not ideal. That's not circadian rhythm mastering. But I'm committed to the teaching. And so if it means that I go from one time zone to the other, and I'm sailing from country to country in places around the world, so my time zones are constantly shifting. And so I just consider that's just part of what I do. You know, I fluctuate in time zones. That's not the most ideal health-wise, but that's the price you pay for doing what you do. Almost every job and career that you take has some sort of a, you know, a challenge to it. But I wouldn't pass it up because I love doing it. So it's part of the game. But overall, I did pretty good because most people don't think I'm 70 years old almost.
Yes, that's true. That's amazing. One of the things that has been holding me back a little bit is the health aspect, because my level of inspiration is not so that I want to trade a healthy body and look, because that's when I come to the feminine energy side, where you prioritize also the rest and the health and the nutrition, and seeing you exemplify how inspiration can keep someone motivated and inspired to stay healthy and continue on his mission. This is really inspiring.
Well, I don't want to say it's purely inspiration. I have a little bit of Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt that we make here on the ship. I have fresh fruit, and I have multigrain rolls, a few of those, and I have soup usually at lunch, and I have vegetable juice, and I have a couple grapes, and then and usually a multigrain roll, and then at night I'm usually have brown rice and vegetables and fish. I eat. I don't live to eat. I eat to live. I eat to perform. So I've learned over the years what foods maximize my performance, and I have it structured, and I have where I live here, everything is taken care of. So that's all I have to do is write out what I want, and it's all taken care of, and it's delivered to me, or I can go to the restaurant or whatever. It's all taken care of. So I've structured my life where I don't have to think about that. I don't have to cook. I don't have to drive. I don't have to do anything except teach, research, write, and travel. So if you're doing what's highest in priority, you don't have a lot of stresses. And as a result of not having a lot of stresses, and you're eating well, and you get a bit of rest, your body does quite well.
Yes, that's amazing. I've noticed some changes in my skin when I'm more stressed. So I have started eliminating gluten and sugar and dairy product, milk product, and see an improvement. But I would be interested in what aspect of the Demartini method can I work on if I want to improve my skin, for example, because it's certainly related to something going on internally, right?
Well, anytime we are ashamed of ourselves and feel like we didn't live up to expectation, we can get testosterone. The anger can make testosterone go up, and it can break us out and make, you know, boils and pimples and things. So our emotions effect is reflected in our skin, and the Demartini method can help you stabilize the emotions so you're more grateful and loving and inspired and enthused about your life. It's designed to stabilize misperceptions that are ratios of perception that are out of balance and bring them back into balance. That's what the method's for. So you can do it on yourself. You can do the method on yourself and appreciate and love yourself in ways you hadn't before, and no longer have judgments on yourself. So that's the use of it. Well, I had a gentleman named Larry who came to the Breakthrough Experience program, which is one of my signature programs that I teach the Demartini method in. I've taught it 1,200 times now. But he came there 34 years ago, and he had psoriasis on his body most all his life since he was a child. And so he had scaly skins, and it was not the most attractive looking thing. And he had an expectation that he had to live up to his dad's expectation. He was trying to please his dad, please his dad, please his dad. And he did the Demartini method on his dad, and cleared the, you might say, the self-minimization relative to his father. And he balanced out the perception of himself relative to his father, and had a real catharsis, a real deep appreciation for his father and for himself. And then he had that catharsis, that tears of gratitude that came to him, made his psoriasis go away. And that was 34 years ago. And I know the man, I talk to him regularly. He still has not had psoriasis since that time. So we have the capacity to change our physiology And many illnesses are a result of stored emotional and imbalanced perceptions that we haven't neutralized. And if we neutralize them, a lot of physiological changes change and we have wellness, our goes up.
With the Demartini method, I think it has helped me already in many areas, like in relationship especially, and also in being confident in the role that I play in the society, because I've been changing my role from IT professional to being a mom and now being on the way to entrepreneurship. And trading my health has been something that has been holding me back, but working on the mind with the Demartini method, I think I will do that and see how it balances things out.
Yes, we had a lady in Calgary, Canada, who had irritable bowel syndrome and was having problems and cramps and bloat and things. And also she did a resentment on her ex-husband, and there was a massive, divorce that went on. And that's when she started having all the problems. And we did the method on it and cleared all the resentments that were sitting there. And that was the end of her irritable bowel syndrome. So our physiology creates epigenetic autonomically symptoms as a feedback mechanism to guide us back to our authentic self. Everything that goes on in our life is ultimately on the way, not in the way, trying to help us become authentic, not the imposter. So anytime we exaggerate or minimize ourselves because of judgment, we automatically have symptomatology to try to let us know that, to try to get us back into loving and appreciating people. Because when we love and appreciate, that's why I say love and appreciation is still the greatest healer. I wrote a book called Count Your Blessings, The Healing Power of Gratitude and Love. And I believe that that's still one of the great healers that we have, is appreciation and love. And so I think that anytime we're not appreciating and loving, we're getting feedback in our physiology and psychology to try to get us back to appreciating and loving.
Yes. I have loved your definition of love. Love is the synthesis of all complementary opposites. Synthesis and synchronicity of all complementary opposites. How will you apply that also in wealth building?
Well, when you see one side, if you're conscious of the positives and unconscious of the negatives, you get infatuated and you subjectively are distorting your perception of what's there. Imagine you're dating a gentleman and it's a new dating, you just started, and you're a little infatuated and you're blind to the downsides, and you're conscious of the upsides, unconscious of the downsides, and blind. And then days, weeks, or months, you start to discover the downsides. And you go, I can't believe I was so gullible. The guy's not who I thought. And so you can have the wisdom of the ages with the aging process, or you can have the wisdom of the ages without it by looking immediately at what are the two sides of the person and balancing it out. If you balance it out and bring it into perfect balance, you'll love them for who they are. If you infatuate with them, you'll be blind to the downsides, and you'll be infatuated with the half that you think is there. And the same thing's on resentment. If you resent it, you're conscious of the downsides and unconscious of the upsides. But if you go look for the upsides and balance it, you get to love them for who they are. Because the truth is, if you stay with somebody long enough, you're going to find things you like and dislike. It's going to be balanced over time.
Yes.
So why wait and have the wisdom of the ages with the aging process when you can have the wisdom of the ages without it by asking quality questions? And that's what the Demartini method is for, to ask the questions so you're fully conscious of both sides simultaneous. When you have both simultaneous pairs of opposites, the synthesis and synchronicity of opposites make love. The ancient Greeks said when you're infatuated with somebody, you're seeing more similarities than differences. Oh my God, we have the same number of eyes, same number of ribs. When we resent somebody, we're seeing more differences than similarities. We don't have anything in common. We're going in two different directions. But when you love somebody, you have a balance of similarities and difference, a balance of complementary opposites. And when you can see that simultaneous, perfectly balanced, you now have appreciation and love. That's true grace and true love. And that's healing.
Yes.
It's also the most stable place to manage money. It's also the most stable place to have sustainable fair exchange in relationships. It's also the most stable place for the mind to be balanced and not be disturbed. It's also physiologically healing, and it's inspirational, because in that state is where you have spontaneous inspiration. Whenever you're living by your highest values, you're more objective and more neutral and more spontaneous. And when you're living in lower values, you're more volatile and polarized and hesitant. So there's wisdom in balancing out our perceptions and bring homeostatic to our psychology.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. John Demartini. I want to be respectful of your time. What are you working on currently? You have talked about your books that are coming by June or something like that.
Right this minute, I'm writing an article for Jet Set magazine on sustainability, sustainable fair exchange, and authenticity. I just finished writing a book. I sent it to the publisher last night at 9 o'clock. So I just finished a book called The 9 Steps to Financial Freedom. We have a new movie coming out on the breakthrough movie on my life's work that's coming out. It's going to the film festival starting this week. It'll be actually out in the market by May after the film festivals are done.
About the
And
breakthrough
I'm working on
experience. Is it
pardon
about
me?
the breakthrough experience seminar?
No, it's a movie. It's about my work, but it's called Breakthrough Movie. So
Okay.
that'll be coming out. And we have another movie that's coming out also on dealing with adversity, how to overcome adversity. That's about to come out. I think it's going to hit probably in the next month. So there's lots going on. I'm working on another textbook on the evolution and the evolution of morality in history and the evolution of how morality came about and how did our brains set it up, and quite an interesting topic. And I'm doing a presentation tomorrow on maximizing mental faculties at any age. So I'm doing a thing on maximizing our clarity of mind. So we got lots of stuff going on. Plus I'm writing articles every day.
That's awesome. So what would you recommend how a viewer can start with your work? Breakthrough
What would I
experience?
recommend?
Yes.
Well, if people just go to the website, drdemartini.com, and maybe do the value determination process, which is it says determine your values. It's free, it's private. That's a wise thing I think that anybody can do. Millions of people have used it, and it is a very useful tool to verify what your life demonstrates is really important to you, because a lot of times we lie to ourselves. But going through that exercise of 13 questions is very revealing. And then they can go through and browse I have hundreds of articles and newspapers and magazines and podcasts and YouTubes. And if they're interested in what I'm doing, they could stay on there they'd have to believe in reincarnation, because they're not going to get it all done in one life. They're going to have to keep busy on it. And then also there's lots of books. So we've got many books. The Essentials of Emotional Intelligence just came out, and The Productivity Factor just came out, lots of books. So they can go and get, check out whatever it is that resonates with them and go online for it. I think that's the best thing to them do.
You have truly changed my life, and I wish for all our viewers that they also engage with your work and that their life also be changed in a positive way because of your work. So thank you so much for your exemplification and for showing us what is possible.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much.